from the Rishus Harabim into that Rishus HaYochid, so too, even if the whole thing is in the Rishus HaYochid, you're not allowed to. What I'm trying to struggle with, and I couldn't find an answer to, is I'm envisioning that someone has in his backyard built up with pavers, and they have two different levels. A lot of times people have different levels. So if you have a higher level, you have an area that's a higher level, that's 4x4, that's sort of distinct and separate from the rest of his property, you wouldn't be badly on it. What if I have a picnic table in my Rishus HaYochid? I don't think anybody holds that you're not allowed to put something on a picnic table, right? Right, so it's if in Rishus HaYochid you're not allowed to place something on a raised area because we're afraid you'll do that in the Rishus Harabim. And in the Rishus Harabim, that's literally going from Rishus Harabim to Rishus HaYochid. But in your backyard, it's Rishus HaYochid, Rishus HaYochid. No, I mean, as far as I know, did you ever hear of such a thing that it's also to put something on a picnic table in your backyard? Of course not. So it must be only if it's a raised terrain. For some reason, there's a platform built up.
We don't hear.
You know when they build the retaining walls out of stone driveway. Imagine you built that out. You built a platform out of it. I'm sorry.
We don't hear in Toronto anything because we have an Eruv, so most people don't even know the ins and outs of what to do and what not to do. We're not even raised in that way.
Because everything's mutter. That's one reason why people don't like Erevin.
True, but still, now you're asking me, did you ever hear not being able to put on a picnic table? I don't know. If I would go live in Wisconsin somewhere, then maybe the Rav Taka would not show me not to put something on a picnic. Like, I'm already...
No, this is a question of Rishus HaYochid to Rishus HaYochid.
Right.
Erev doesn't help for that.
Right, but for my Rishus HaYochid, is there an Erev around my property? I don't know. Let's say there's Taka no Erev around my property, right? Is that my Rishus, and my backyard and my front yard is open?
So that's a Rishus HaYochid.
Is it a Rishus HaYochid?
Yeah, but it's also Midrabanan. But it's also Midrabanan. It's not a place where many people go, and it's not 16 amas wide. It's not a thoroughfare. It's not a thoroughfare. It's not a place that multitudes walk through.
I don't have any gates all around my property.
Right. It's not about gates.
So why do people who are even very makbid on the Erev and they don't use the city air, why do they put Erevs around their property?
What an Erev doesn't make something into Rishus HaYochid.
Oh.
What an Erev does is it takes care of the Rabban Dekesher of a Carmelis. The Rabban don't let you carry in an area that's not walled, because then how do you make that distinction between Rishus HaYochid and Rishus Harabim? So they want that distinction. But Midaraisa, Rishus HaYochid has nothing to do with walls, barriers, lechis, kairs, nothing.
Okay, so the whole idea of an Erev is simply just to take it away from the Gzeira.
Take it to Rabban, take away the Rabban, yeah.
So closed fence around your backyard technically wouldn't make that a Rishus HaYochid?
Even without the fence, it's a Rishus HaYochid.
So you could carry it in your yard. Midaraisa. We
require an Erev to take care of the Rabban of Carmelos. But Midaraisa, the Rishus HaYochid is a place. Most areas are Midaraisa Rishus HaYochid, unless it's a big thoroughfare, and then there's a shaila in order to be a Rishus Harabim, if 600,000 people have to pass it every day. So besides the 401, the entire Toronto is technically a Rishus HaYochid. You still not allowed to carry there without an Erev. You're only allowed to, but the Erev is to take care of the Rabbanan. Midaraisa, there's no problem at all.
Did you see a lot of places can hold that even without 600,000 people, it's a Rishus Harabim?
Yes, right. So maybe in Bathurst, but we for sure don't pass them. That Bathurst is a Rishus Harabim, because if it was, we couldn't have an Erev, right? You cannot make an Erev around a Rishus Harabim. You can't go to a Rishus Harabim, make an Erev, and then boom, it's automatically a Rishus HaYochid. It doesn't work that way. If it's already a Rishus HaYochid, an Erev will make that distinction. Okay, so that's the end of the Gemara here. Now I just want to send a message for all those people that are at home and are isolated. It's Imoy Anoichi B'Tzara. I don't know, that you're isolated, all those people at home. Maybe we're isolated. You know, a whole week when Dave was in Florida, I felt very isolated, right? Now he's stuck at home, right? So he feels isolated. But we also feel isolated because we miss you. And we miss all the people that come, that can't come today. What? That's...
He was by Werner.
But not being able to come to your shul is you feel isolated. So I was actually pondering, what's really are they isolated or are we isolated? Maybe we're isolated. So I have the only difference is that we get free coffee. So that's why I know that they're isolated. Cheers.
My father, when I went to Pels, didn't want me to leave the campus. So I asked him, the whole yeshiva, if the Rosh Yeshiva leaves the yeshiva to do tashlich on the other side of the camp, on the other side of the
City.
Not of the city, but like they leave the campus.
Right.
Am I allowed to leave the campus? He goes, Chaim Tzvi, where the Rosh Yeshiva goes, that's where the yeshiva is.
Aha. He's the campus. The mobile campus. Okay, now we're learning about all the things you're not allowed to do if you're in isolation from the coronavirus. Lo yeshiv adam lefnei hasaper. You're not allowed to sit in front of a barber. In other words, you're not allowed to go take a haircut. Samach lemincha, near mincha time. Now, Rashi tells us that we're not only talking here about Erev Shabbos, we're talking about every day, because we're afraid you're going to get involved in an activity and you're going to get delayed, and then you're going to miss mincha. So therefore, you're not allowed to go get a haircut. Samach lemincha. Rabbi Elephant spoke out. If the Mishnah is trying to tell us you're not allowed to take a haircut, why didn't it say lo yistaper lefnei mincha? Why does it describe it? Don't go sit in front of a barber lefnei mincha. Don't go to haircut. So Rabbi Elephant said the Mishnah is trying to tell you a chiddush. This is an activity. Taking a haircut is an activity that you can't do by yourself. There's got to be somebody else involved. So you might think since there's two people involved, you could remind each other. Kamash Malan, you cannot do that.
No, it means if you're sitting and waiting in the light, that's what it means.
We're going to see that's not the case. The Gemara actually is going to be very explicit as to what constitutes the beginning of your haircut. And the Gemara is going to tell us that it's not called that you've started your haircut until he puts the shmata around you. That's when your haircut starts. So if you're just reading the magazines in the waiting room, that's not called taking a haircut.
I have a more difficult question, Yossi Simon. What does Rashi come to tell us?
Exactly, probably to answer Duva's question. You're allowed to be in the waiting room. You just can't start your haircut.
It says stop there.
Right.
So what am I sitting in front of? What am I sitting in front of the barber?
No, what if you're waiting?
Coming to America with Eddie Murphy just sitting there
Oh,
eating.
Murphy says
Sitting,
that-
remember?
I mean, there's other things that they
barbers
do
who were
there.
hanging
Or barbers also do that. They
What's
multitask.
going on in town?
So Rashi-
Right. Barbers were hanging out.
Yeah, right.
Oh, really? That's what it means?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, that's why there's red and blue posts. They're sending medical.
The
They're
red
sending
blood.
medical.
No, there used to be
That's a
bloodletting.
serious Rashi.
That's
That's what Rashi says. Let's stop.
stop here, not just to go for bloodletting.
Yeah,
but to-
that's a serious Rashi.
Oh, very good.
Gewaltig, Scott.
Wow.
You're not going there to bet on the track, on the horse race.
Yeah, they did that too.
So le'yeshav adam lefnei hasaper samach lemincha
That you're allowed to do.
ad sheyispalel. It's funny. Out of all the activities that people get involved in, no one talks about that you're allowed to work. You got to go to work because you get involved.
Because you're already at work.
That's right. Well, the Gemara is going to talk about different types of people.
When it got dark in those days, they didn't work.
That's right. The game was over. That's right. That's true. So le'yeshav adam lefnei hasaper samach lemincha ad sheyispal lo yichanes adam lemerchatz. A person shouldn't go in to a bathhouse, v'lo lebursiki, and he shouldn't go into a tanning house where they work on hides. V'lo lechoil. And a person shouldn't sit down to a meal. If he's a dayan, he shouldn't sit down to a din Torah. You're not allowed to do that close to mincha because we're afraid you'll get involved and it will. And Rashi Shema Yishkach v'lo yispal. I'm sorry. The Gemara is going to analyze that as well. Excellent. You're asking all the right questions because these are all the things that the Gemara is going to have to flush out. The mischilu, and if you started already, apparently you had already started before. Ein mafsikin, you're not mechuyev to stop in the middle. However, mafsikin liquor is krishma. If Zman krishma comes, then you have to be mafsik because krishma is a deraisa, unlike tefillah. They mafsikin tefillah, but you don't have to stop in the middle of your activity for tefillah. Okay, that's the Mishnah. Now, the interesting thing is what in the world does this have anything to do with Masechah Shabbos? Why are we bringing this in here? So Rashi tells us, this is Rashi's kasha, so let's learn the third Rashi, Achi Yispal, Shema Yishkach V'lo Yispal, Zokt Rashi, V'ha, all these items listed in our Mishnah, Afilu B'chel Nami, they would be usher every day, never mind on the Erev Shabbos. V'ha the Tani Hacha, the reason why the Tani shtips them in over here is Mishum the Domi, L'ha the Tani Gaba, it's domi to what we're going to learn in a later Mishnah, Lo Yetzei Achayit B'machtoi, Erev Shabbos Yom Chashecha. The tailors, they used to keep their needles in their lapels. That was their pin cushion. So they shouldn't walk around with it in the evening time, because if they don't take it out, they might forget to leave it there. And as they walk in and out of Rosh Hashanah and Rosh Hashanah, they're going to be moitzi and machnas. So Rabbi Elvin asked a very simple question. If, in fact, the reason why our Mishnah lists off these items is because of Yetzei Achayit, so why didn't it say Lo Yetzei Achayit? And then once we're talking about the Yetzei Achayit, then bring down the other shalos that are relevant. Why did it go into these first? So he brought down a couple of different psukim. One of the things that he said is that the Gemara is starting. One of the sources is that the details of the Hilchos Shabbos is quite involved. So the Gemara wants to, the Tana wants to first discuss the simple things that are relevant, get it out of the way, and then get into the more detailed things.
The first 8 lot were the simple things?
No. When we're starting this subject of how to fizich Erev Shabbos, we're going to talk about the simpler things, and then we're going to talk about the other things. One second. I want to see where he wrote it down. Okay, Zok the Heilige Gemara weiter. Yeah, that's the Rambam. 1 second. Yeah, the Rambam says that. The other thing they bring down is these are things that most people engage in Erev Shabbos, so that's why it starts off with this, because these are very common things that people do. Zok Gemara. First, Gemara's kasha starts off right away with Duvi's kasha. Hai samach mincha. What do we mean by near mincha? If it's near Mincha Gedolah, so Mincha Gedolah is once the sun starts setting on the west. At high noon, the sun's right above us, which is 6 hours into the day, 6.5 hours into the day, so halfway through the 7th hour, so that's when you can see the sun starting to move, and at that point you're allowed to start davening Mincha. But at that point there's plenty of time left, because you can daven Mincha till 9.5 hours. So the Gemara wants to know, why can't I start one of these activities? We don't have to worry that I'm going to miss mincha. There's hours left. There's hours of available time. Ella, what the Tana must be referring to when the Tana says don't start these activities before mincha is samach al mincha ketana. It must be towards the afternoon. Okay.
Still, what's samach?
Samach means once the time hits. So once it's 9.5 hours after daybreak, from then on.
It says close to that, right? So it's not exactly.
Right. So you want how many minutes before? That's a good question. I don't know. That's a good question. So let's see what it says. But if it's referring to Mincha Ketana, let's look at the next clause in the Mishnah. Imischilu, if you started, ein mafsikin, you don't have to stop. This will not be consistent with what Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi taught us. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Kivin shegia zaman tfilas hamincha. Once the time to daven mincha arrives, also lo adam shitem klum kodim sheisbal tfilas hamincha. You're not allowed to put a morsel of food into your mouth. Meaning, even if you're in the middle of a meal, the moment the clock strikes mincha ketana, you have to stop. Our Mishnah doesn't seem to say that. So, Gemara, you're right.
Oh, now that Duvi mentioned this, pretty open. He says kivin shehigia rather than samuch. The Mishnah
There's a difference in how it's expressed. I hear it's a very, very good point. It's a very good point.
Higia, samuch means 5
Hear what Chaim is saying.
before, yeah.
There's a clear distinction.
Yeah.
Very clear.
Higia maybe is later, maybe
Higia is it.
we're there.
Arrived.
Yeah, I hear it. It's a very good point. So you're right. We're talking about samach mincha gedolah, and that's why you're not mafsik if you already started. But the type of haircut that you've engaged in is not a regular haircut. It's a 6-hour haircut. It's a 6-hour haircut. What type of haircut it is? It's ufet aspiris ben alasha. It's a perm. Do you remember what a perm was from the good old days? It takes time. It takes time. Mati, do you know what a perm is? Tifa was my Tifa perm.
Ik heb 4 Schwesters.
Oh. A perm is when they make their hair into an afro.
Fuller.
They would make their hair into an afro.
They curl all the hair. It's called the
But it took a long time. So, but that's in Elisha. Rashi tells us it was a special haircut. Who was Ben Elisha? It was Chasna Rebbe Haya. Rebbe's item was a very rich guy. You know, I look at the Ru's items. All of his items are very rich guys. They're extravagant. They come with nice vehicles. So Rebbe also had a wealthy son-in-law. Now Rebbe was wealthy too. So I'm not sure if Rebbe's son-in-law became wealthy. I know Mushal. I know all of Moshe's wealthy son-in-laws are very wealthy. They weren't necessarily wealthy before they became son-in-laws. So I'm not sure if this Ben Elisha was rich from before or not.
They have a perm for their beards.
What?
They have a perm for their beards.
Like I remember when I got married, right after I got married, I went down to Mexico with my wife. And I bought a sombrero for like $3. And my shver was so upset. For deze gebe ich dich geen geld? For deze haal ich dich aus? Die kan je sombreros kopen? He was mamish devastated. So he says, oh, ich habe mich gekauft Ben Elisha. No, he didn't say that. But I'm thinking, you know. So Rebbe had ochet as an item. So if you ever think your item is spending too much money, you know, Rebbe had an item that spent so much money for someone to teach him how to do this haircut that the Kohen Gadol got. What was unique about the Kohen Gadol's haircut? So he mesaper kol roshi. He cut all the hair on all his head, but v'lo legamri. He didn't cut it off completely. Elamniach kol asayers ksas. Every hair was at a very specific height. Kedei shei roshi shel zeh v'tat ikrei shel zeh, so that the top of each hair should reach the root of the other hair. I mean, with today's numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, that should be very easy to do. But I guess in those days where you were just doing it with a scissor, to cut each hair that it should be this a precise same length was probably very challenging. You can imagine the guy spent $100,000 to learn how to do this, and the next day someone invented this hair clipper. Probably made him feel bad. Anyway, so such a haircut you shouldn't go to even before Mincha Gedolah, because that could take up a lot of time. V'lo lemerchatz. When it says you shouldn't go to the merchatz, it doesn't mean for a quick dip. It means l'chula milsa the merchatz. That means mekratz chundul, mekratz chundort. You're washing your hair and you're kratzing your back and you're massaging the whole spiel. It's called a day at the spa. But Rananos is allowed. Yeah. V'lo lebrushki, and you're not allowed to go to a tanner. Lebrushki gedolah. That's when you have Rashi says oiros harbe uvetchilas tikunon. You're right at the beginning. You have rawhide, and you have a lot of them, so it's going to take time. What is it? In a big meal. There's a whole shayla of what a big meal means. If a big meal means there's a lot of food, or if a big meal means like a public meal, like a chasna versus a private lunch that you have at home, or if it has to do with how many people are there, because more people you tend to get delayed. You're schmoozing with people. V'lo l'din, b'tchilas din, you cannot start a new din Torah because it's time consuming to go through. Zot gemara weiter. So this actually spills off into interesting shilos that are relevant. And he brought up two different shilos that they bring rise from our Gemara, that you shouldn't start, but if you're in it already, you stick with what you're doing. What happens if you normally light Chanukah nares with oil, which is to use oil, and you come home one day, it's right before the Zman, and you can't find your oil, you ran out of oil, so you quickly grab candles, you set them up on your menorah, you're ready to make the bracha, and one of your kids says, oh, I thought I found the oil. So do you stop, get rid of the candles, and put oil, or you just move on? So from this brisa, they're being raised that you just continue to light in candles, according to some shittas. The same thing is, le'aleinu, if someone has to do chalitza. So normally the oldest living brother will do chalitza if a brother was nifter without children. I guess once you're almost started the mitzvah. You see, but the chassidim, the achana of the mitzvah is bigger than the mitzvah, so he made the achana already. So let's say the oldest brother for some reason was not available, and because of that, they set up the whole appointment for the chalitza to be done with one of the younger brothers. And at the last second, the oldest brother shows up. Who makes the chalitza? So there's a shayla if the older brother should just push his younger brother away or not. So let's go more weiter. Rav Acher bar Yaakov Omar lo'olim b'taspoyers didon. It's not speaking about this elaborate haircut of Ben Elosha. It's a regular haircut. L'chatchila mai lo yeshiv. Why shouldn't he sit down to go for a haircut on the Erev Shabbos before Mincha? Because gzeir shem yishbar azoik. Could you imagine if you're in the middle of taking a haircut, you have half your hair cut, half your hair is not cut, and the scissor breaks? Then you have to wait there until they find another scissor. My daughter once had a date, and the bacher was coming to the house in an hour, and I shaved. And after I shaved the right side of my face, my shaver died. Finished. So I had half of my face shaven and half of my face not shaven. So I just he was wondering, well, if I had like a stiff neck. I showed him aleichem and I couldn't walk like this. And he only saw one half of my face. Then I heard that he only wanted to marry into a family where the father wears a beard. So I quickly went like this. It's like the problem I always have with the tuition committee. You know, for the shadchan, you have to play up how wealthy you are. But for the tuition committee, you have to play up how you're struggling. So the worst thing that a person can have is if the tuition committee calls to read a mashidduch, because you don't know where to put yourself, right? There was once a Maisa where we know that Hanukkah time, anybody goes to Florida, go to Israel. You can't be in Toronto. It's humiliating. I can't. Now, Baruch Hashem, I can be myself again in my fourth daughter got engaged. But until then, I couldn't be around here on Shabbos Hanukkah. I'll never do a shidduch. So what did I do? I went into isolation, right? I went into isolation and I changed my answering machine. I told my family, you're not allowed to answer the phone from Thursday afternoon till Sunday night. You're not allowed to answer the phone. And my message on the machine, I said, I'm sorry that we're not here. We're away at our campus in Boca, and we'll be back Monday and I'll call you back. Right? So we don't answer any phone calls or rings. Monday morning, I pick up my messages and says, "Hi, Yossi, this is the tuition committee of Vishakov calling." So I realized, anyway, Zog Tehillah Gemara weiter. Zog Tehillah Gemara weiter. So we're afraid of a break. So there's also a shaila. What happens if your barber happens to have a lot of spare haircutting machines? What would halacha be? So that's a shaila. If it's a light plug, or if he has plenty of haircutting machines, you don't have to worry. Below the merchets, what about the merchets? Lazeh ba'alma. You're just going in for a short rinse, right? Why can't you do it? You might get dizzy. You might get dizzy, and it gets hot, steamy there. You can get dizzy. You could faint, and that'll delay your mincha. Below the bursaki, leyuni ba'alma. You're going in just to take a look at the process, what's going on. So why can't you do that? That doesn't take time. You're just taking a quick look. You might see that things went bad and your expensive hides that are in process are ruined, and then what type of davening could you have? When you daven after that, you're not even able to concentrate. You're worried about your money. Umatrid. And Rashi says it doesn't mean he's going to actually do anything. It just means yitztarev yetored b'tzarev v'lo yispal. You won't be able to daven. You won't be able to get a clear mind. Other Rishonim learns umatrid means he'll jump in and try to fix it. Why can't you start a small suda? Again, it might end up dragging out. It means big margin, which again shouldn't take very long. Maybe right before they're actually paskening, one person thinks of an idea, and he realizes, hey, we're mistaken, and then they have to redo the whole din, and then it could lead to a drawn-out situation. Now that we say, and again, Duvi asked, what's called starting to take a haircut? At what point will we say you have already started your haircut, and because of that, you're allowed to continue getting your haircut? When do we say that you started your haircut? When they put the shmata on you, then you've started your haircut. What is the beginning of a shower? When you take the first piece of clothing off, it says sudrehu. I guess it's something that he kept around his head or his neck. When you take that off, at that point you start. You're in the mikveh, and it means even if you paid already, you paid already, but if you didn't start getting undressed, you lose your $5, right? So because it's not called started. And at what point do we say you've started the process of tanning? From Rashi, it sounds like you're tying up your sleeves. It sounds like when you're putting on your apron. It sounds like it's like an apron type of thing. What does the art scroll say?
Slips his arms out of his sleeves and ties his sleeves.
So what does that mean? It means it's an apron or something?
No, you don't want to get your sleeve.
Oh, so but he's doing something. So it's like when I go out in the rain, I put my socks over my pants. When you do something like that. Okay. When do we start eating? What's called the beginning of a meal? Oh, this is gewaltig. This is mamish gewaltig. Do you remember after the chulent you say, oh, this belt is so tight. I have to open it up, right? Right? So this is not a new thing. This was done already a long time ago. What did the Gemara say? What's called the beginning of a meal? They didn't wait till their belt was busting to open their belt. Rather, schol sechila is either mishiyat al yadav when you wash until shadayim. But Chanina, I love this one. Before your meal, you have to open up. Also it's on Platz, kann man sich essen, also ich geht unessen Geschmack. Right? So that's what they used to do in those days.
So at no point.
That's why you have to come to shiur in person. How am I going to explain this orally? It's a guy nicht.
If you want, you could try. You want to visually show it.
I just want you to know, if you buy your clothing in Chassidish stores like G&G, all the pants have built-in elastic. So there's plenty of room. It grows with you. It's a machaya. You know, everyone talks about the mattress that forms with you. Forget the mattress. I need pants that grow with me. Machaya. What? So they expand with you? They have elastic. Oh, they're automatically bigger. Gewaltig, gewaltig. Okay.
So when mincha times comes, is he looking at his clock and he's saying, okay, it's now 12:30, I can go to mincha, or should I go take a haircut? Is this the scenario? What's
12:30.
So he didn't that he forgot and he's
So you're not allowed to, if it's 12:30, you're not allowed to take a haircut anymore.
You're not allowed to take a haircut
But if it's 12:15, imagine the guy gets you at 9 in the morning. He's waiting and waiting. It's 12:29 and it's not his turn yet. At 12:29 it's his turn, so he jumps on the seat, right? So that he can get it under the wire. Otherwise, he has to wait online all over again. No, imagine you're waiting in line with customer service on their Canada. And it's a minute to mincha. Are you supposed to hang up the phone, or are you supposed to wait till you get through to your Canada?
If he started, I'm sorry, I don't know if he's already in the store at the barber at 12 o'clock.
That's not
That's
counted.
when he puts the sheet around.
I know, yeah, but that's because he maybe.
So what you do is
We're
it's
supposed to
12:29.
do.
You ask the guy, do you have an extra sheet? I'm next. Do you have an extra sheet? You know?
It just doesn't. It's okay.
Okay.
Bring an extra pair of scissors.
Here. Zog to Gemara weiter. So that's the beginning. So frek to Gemara v'loy pligi. You have a machlokes. Is it until Shadayim? Is it until Shadayim that heralds the beginning of the meal, or is it opening your belt? Halon v'alahu. Rashi learned that the Bnei Bavel used to make their belts very tight. They used to like to look thin. So therefore, when they ate, they had to open up their belts. But Bnei Yisrael, they never tightened their belt too much in the first place. They don't know how to tighten their belts. So they just come from Nor. They don't know how to tighten their belt. They just come from Nor. So it's no problem. So they just, when they start eating, they just make it to Shadayim. Omer Abaye.
It all works out.
It all works out at the end. Okay. It all comes out in the wash. Zog to Gemara weiter. Omer Abaye. Hani chavrin Baveloim. These Baveloim, these Persian people, Laman de Omar, Tfilas Arvis Rishus. If you hold that Ma'ariv is Rishus, because it's a Shaila, if Ma'ariv is a Chayiv or Rishus, Kivin de Shoyalem Yonei, the moment they opened up their belt, so if they started a Suda and they opened up their belt, we don't make them daven Ma'ariv. Ulaman de Omer Choyva Matrachin lay. Are you telling me that if you hold Ma'ariv as a Choyv, even though he opened up his belt and he started the Suda, you make him stop? Why should you make him stop? By Mincha we said you don't make him stop. Everybody holds Mincha as a Choyva, Utnan in our very Mishnah, so why by Ma'ariv, if it's Choyva, do you have to stop even though you started eating, and by Mincha you don't have to stop? So before we learn the teretz, I want to discuss about mincha being rishus. So Tosfos says, I love what Tosfos says over here. Ma'ariv, right. So Tosfos says, v'nir l'ri. Well, so Tosfos asks the first question is, v'ntoimer, the bottom Tosfos, typically mishum krishma. Never mind the Ma'ariv, that feels Ma'ariv that's rishus. But krishma is midaraisa. So you have to daven Ma'ariv anyway. V'yeshloimer kakoin shakar krishma. Before he sat down to his meal, he could have said krishma. So the deraisa factor is removed. Even though Ma'ariv is ein levat lebechinim, you shouldn't mach it away. You should have a Ma'ariv. Unless there's a good reason. If you have a good reason, like if you started eating, that's a good reason why you don't have to have a Ma'ariv. But for no reason at all, you should have a Ma'ariv. Or if you have some other mitzvah, yasa mitzvah. You should do the mitzvah v'lo yispal. You shouldn't daven. Aval pisha mitzvah einay veres. Even though you could do the mitzvah later, but once you start a mitzvah, since tefillas arvis is rishus, you can continue the mitzvah. Aval bechinam ein levatla. But for no reason, you shouldn't be mevatel ma'ariv. Teda, and I'll tell you why. I love this taida. Sure, Yaakov tikne. Yaakov hat gesucht mit daven im ma'ariv. V'lomo yesh levatla bechinim. Im zis sollst du wegwerfen. Why should you just throw away a mitzvah that Yaakov Avinu made? So Tosfos is very pro ma'ariv. Okay. No, bishara him yonei. If he already, he opened up his belt. So if he started a meal and he opened up his belt already, that's called you're in the middle of your meal. Okay, so the akash is, why is it by Ma'ariv we say you should stop? By Mincha, once you started eating, we say you don't have to stop. And for the Gemara, there's a very big difference between Mincha and Ma'ariv. By Mincha, Mincha is in the middle of the day. No one's going to be drunk, Mincha time. But Hacha, in the evening time, Shchicha Shikris, it's possible you'll be drunk, and therefore you have to be more vigilant, and therefore even though you started, you should continue. You should go daven Marav. Inami, and another difference why mincha is less chamer is the mincha kiven to kavil azimna. Since we know, everyone knows there's a limited amount of time to daven mincha. You're focused on it and you don't want to miss it. So therefore, mirshis for le'asla. But Arvis, I can say, no, I have a whole night. You know what? I'm not in a rush. I have a whole night. I'll get to it. Kiven the chulul zman Arvis le'ar mirshis. And what happens when you push something off? Vasi lemipsha. If you have an issue to do and you take care of it immediately, you'll be good. Once you start pushing it off, then you can get yourself into trouble. Maskav le'rabsheshis. I don't understand. So he took his belt off. I understand if he washed and he made a nal tisha he has to make a broch, he has to eat. But he took his belt off, put a belt back on. Is that such a big deal that we say because of that you shouldn't daven mincha? How you talking? V'oid fragt the Gemara, leiki hachibelikli, daven without your belt. It's a big deal. You can't daven, you took your belt off, so go daven then. Zok the Gemara, I'll tell you why. The reason why you have to put your belt back on is mishum shenemer hachon lekras alekecha Yisrael. You have to get ready. You have to make a achana to daven. The Gemara conveniently ignored the first question. Tricha, yeah, it is a tricha.
The belt was the garter.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Zok the heilige Toises. Trichusa lemeisem yonei v'oid lekach. You know, I was hoping to be able to say shiur from home today, and I wanted to say shiur in my underpants. Why did I want to say shiur my underpants? Because mamish, that's what we're doing now. Let's look. I'm not joking. The Gemara is not even taking the first kasha seriously. Now Zok Toisus, what Chaim said, Mikan shetzorich lezer chalotzov kishem espal. This is the makor to wear gartel. This Gemara is in fact the makor to wear gartel. Uvamachzer vitri mefarish the tam the bein ezer. Why do you need a gartel? It's not al toch and likros lekecha. It's a different reason. Shlo yehei libo yiroyes erva. There has to be a hefsek on your body between your heart and your makam erva. V'davka then they just wore flowing robes. So there was no hefsek at all between their heart and their erva. They didn't have hains or fluid of the loom. I'm not sure what I have. I'm not going to check now. That's what they had to put on the gartel before the daven. We have our belt around our pants. And then we don't have to wear a gartel. So that's the reason why people don't wear a gartel today. And people do wear a gartel. That's right. He put on happy socks. It doesn't really mean, it means shoes. Puzmaki Rashi says, Mikan yesh leichiach she'en l'espalel amakol katoisves. Here you say you shouldn't daven barefoot, yachav. B'tishabov v'yom kippur. So he wore his happy socks. Why? Omar hachan likras. Again, I'm preparing myself to be dressed beautifully to be able to make a presentation in front of the Rebbe.
Shoes or socks?
Well, it might be socks, but Tosh says without it you're going to be barefoot. So in those days they didn't wear shoes and socks, right? Because there's one
sandals,
thing, Fuzmaki, without it they're going to be barefoot. So I'm not sure what it is exactly.
In Israel, many people daven in sandalim.
But they wear
right?
socks underneath.
No,
they're barefoot.
No, barefoot. Sandalim. It's the way the part of their walk.
Rava Shadi
shoes,
Glimi.
but they wear shoes. Sandals are in some shoes.
Rava Shadi Glime. Rava, first of all, before he started davening, he took off his Adar. He took off his pelts. He took off his regal outer clothing. He took off. In other words, he didn't want to make himself look chashuv. He wanted to make himself look humble. And upachiyada, he would squeeze his hands together, which like showed that he's bitzar and he's behachno. So Rava purposely put himself be'achna. Omar, he said, Ka'avdo kamei. I'm like a servant begging for salvation from my master. I'm not going to come in looking like I'm a prince. I'm going to come in looking like I'm an evet. Omar Rav Ashi, Chazina Rav Kahana. I used to see by Rav Kahana, Kiket Tsar Ba'alma, if he was in a matziv of tsar, he was in a difficult strait, then Shadi Glime Upochayadu Maslei. Then he said, Amar Ka'avda Kamei Murray. But Kikashama, when things were going good, then Lavish Umiskase, he would actually dress up in his finest clothing to greet the Rebbeinu Shalom. Lavish Umiskase Umisatev Amatli. Amar, he would say, Hachan Likras Alekecha Yisrael. I have to be prepared to greet the Rebbeinu Shalom. Now, the question here is, it's right now, it's almost 6:45. At 6:50 we daven, so maybe I should stop. Now that's what the next Gemara talks about. Rav Yechazel Rav Hamnuna, actually it's the next tickle. Rav Yechazel Rav Hamnuna, Rav saw that Rav Hamnuna, the Kamarach Betzlusa, he was davening along the davening. Omar, he said, look at this guy. Look at this Rabbi Nuna. Manichin chaya olam. He's giving up chaya olam, meaning Torah, because when he's davening, he's not learning. And he's busy davening that he should have a good day in business. He's busy davening he should be healthy. He's busy davening he should have food. It's not distracting. He should be focused on his learning. The who suffer, what's the svara of Rabbi Nuna that he held you should be marked? Suffer is man tefillah lechud, v'zman Torah lechud. Everything has its time. So the Rishonim tell us this is only for someone who's Torah Sayumnosa, of course. But a regular guy has to daven properly. But the other side is, how do you know what he was davening for? Maybe he was davening at the Chanin Lodem Das. Maybe he was davening that he should be mitzlich learning. V'meichades is davening for his personal. So the before I speak about it, I'm going to skip things simple because it's late. So they say that he was in the middle of the Shemon Esrei. He was saying extra tchinas after Shemon Esrei. There, clearly someone's davening for himself, and that was his taina. And Rabbi Nuna held, no, when you're in the Shas Tzar, you're allowed to daven.
Why is that an answer?
Why is what an answer?
Afterwards, you can't daven for Torah? The extra stuff you can't
Usually the extra tchinas are usually davening for your personal needs. Those are more, the stuff that you add in are your personal needs.
But not Rabbi Nuna.
Rabbi Nuna also had to feed a family. He also had to pay his mortgage.
I don't know why the extra one's
You don't know how that answers. Okay, here. So he has some other, he goes through the whole shtickle Torah. There's a machlokes Ramban and the Rambam. If tefillah is deraisa, the Rambam holds every tefillah is deraisa. The Ramban holds tefillah is only deraisa if you're in a Shas Tzora. So he wanted us to learn that the machlokes between Rav and Rav Nuna is good for that. Is that Rava held that like Ramban, the Be'etzem tefillah is not deraisa, only if you're in a Shas Tzora. So it must be that Rav Hamnuna was davening because he was in a Shas Tzora. That must have been per personal. So that answers your kasha better. So he has a different. Rabbi Yirmiyah Yosef Kamei D'Obzer. Here's what's like here. Rabbi Yirmiyah Yosef Kamei D'Obzer. Because it's already 3 minutes to davening, and I'm already jumpy that I want to start davening already. I want to stop. Rabbi Yirmiyah Yosef Kamei D'Obzer. Have asked B'Shemait. They were learning. Nogel Tzluya. It was already late. It was time to start davening. But the commissar of Rabbi Yirmiyah. Rabbi Yirmiyah was like fidgeting in his seat. I got to get my tefillin on. I got to get ready. We're starting to daven soon. Rabbi Yirmiyah told him, Meser Oznei Mishmoya Torah. Someone who pulls his ear away from learning Torah, come to the teva. You're davening the teva because you want to pull away from learning. And on this, the Rishonim say that's only someone who's Torah Nosei. Avada Bayas, you have to be Meser Oznoi, and you have to prepare to go daven. So on that note, we have to stop now because we're going to be soon preparing for davening. I just want to add that Rav Moshe Feinstein says that in brachos there's many times where the Gemara says that tefillah teva. Davening in a Makkah Batunov, and the halach is if it's tefillah teva, you're mechuyev to daven over again. Dr. Moshe, in this case as well, if someone runs away from learning to go daven, it will be tefillah teva. He has to finish learning and then he has to daven again. That's what Moshe Feinstein passes. So you don't even get ahead. He speaks out some very cute little interesting things. So he spoke out from the Vizhnitzer Rebbe. The Vizhnitzer Rebbe says a very beautiful shtickle. The Vizhnitzer Rebbe says that what does it mean Zman Tefillah Chod V'Zman Torah L'Chod? Everybody, the Vizhnitzer Rebbe was big into learning. He made his chassidim learners. He would ask the chassidim who's your chaburah. He was very on top of their learning schedule. So the Vizhnitzer Rebbe said, everybody knows davening. There's no such thing. You daven 3 times a day. Everybody davens 3 times a day. So that's how you have to treat your learning. Your learning also has to be with the kfis. You have to make sure that you learn every day. Now, now the whole shtickle he brings out. With when it comes to tzedakahs, you're supposed to do something that if there's a need to do something, that's more important. So he says, let's say they're raising money for 2 different things. There was a story where they were raising money for a hospital in the Besmeish, and they're raising money for yeshiva. So one of the Poshkin Pascha, I think Rabbi Yasher said, better give the money to yeshiva because the hospital is a popular tzvek. Everyone's going to give. You're better off putting your money where everybody else is ignoring. I'm not sure how that was Nageya here. But we don't have time because we have to start.
Shot of Rava rubbing his hands because he was sanitizing.
Oh, gewaltig.
To announce who the shiur
Today's shiur is being sponsored. Today's broadcast is sponsored by
Shlomy and Susi Goldreich.
by Rab Shlomy and Susi Goldreich. Leilu Nishmas.
Rachel Bas Reb Shimon.
Rachel Bas Rab Shimon.
No, Rachel Bas Reb Shmuel Chaim.
Rachel
Halevi.
Bas Rab Shmuel Chaim Halevi.
Yartzeit was
And that's
Yossi
Mrs. Goldreich's mother. The Neshama should have an aliyah. And thank you, Shaya, for this beautiful Gemara that we can learn from.
They came to the Chavetz Chaim and they said to the Chavetz Chaim, what did you do? Right? I donated $100,000 and I donated 1,000 beds in the hospital. What did you do for Rabbi? The Chaim said, I made sure that there